The night was cold and silent, and the human named Aaron was almost asleep when he heard a soft knock on his door. At first, he thought he was dreaming, because nobody ever came to his house at this hour. But then he heard it again, 3 weak knocks, slow and trembling, as if someone was using the last bit of their strength. Aaron sat up, heart beating fast, because something about that sound felt wrong. It was not the normal confident knock of a visitor. And it was not the angry banging of someone wanting trouble. It was the knock of someone scared. Someone desperate, someone begging for help. He walked toward the door carefully, not knowing what he would find. The wind outside was howling, and the house felt colder than usual. When he reached the door, he stopped for a moment, listening. Then he heard it again, a small broken voice whispering, "Please, please open the door." Aaron's breath caught. He unlocked the door slowly and pulled it open. What he saw made him freeze on the spot. An alien woman stood there in the darkness, soaked from the rain, her skin pale from cold, and her arms wrapped around 2 small children. She looked like she had been walking for hours, maybe even days. Her eyes were filled with fear, pain, and something much deeper, hopelessness. The children were shivering badly, their small hands gripping her clothes as if they were afraid she might disappear. The woman lifted her head weakly and whispered, "Please, we have nowhere to go." Aaron quickly stepped aside and said, "Come inside. You're freezing." The moment the warmth touched them, the children collapsed to the floor, exhausted and hungry. The alien woman struggled to stand, her legs shaking, and Aaron held her arm to support her. She whispered a soft, "Thank you, human." Before falling to her knees, Aaron closed the door fast, locking out the cold wind and the night's danger. He grabbed blankets, wrapping the children first, then covering the mother. Their bodies were icy, like they had been outside for too long. For a moment, none of them spoke. The house was quiet, except for the sound of the children crying softly. Aaron knelt beside them and said gently, "You're safe now. I promise." The alien woman looked at him with tired eyes filled with a kind of trust he didn't understand. "Please, don't send us away," she whispered. "We have nowhere else." Aaron shook his head and said, "I won't send you away, not tonight. Not ever while you're in danger." The woman closed her eyes as if those words were the first warm thing she had felt in days. After a few minutes, she gathered enough strength to speak again. "My name is Leora," she said softly, "and these are my children, Rena and Dow." The children looked up at Aaron with wide, scared eyes. But there was something else in their eyes too, hope, as if they were waiting for him to tell them everything would be okay. Aaron asked gently, "Why were you outside at this time of night? What happened to you?" Leora hesitated, her lips trembling. "It is not safe for us anymore," she whispered. "We were hunted. We escaped. We walked until our legs had no strength left." Aaron felt a chill run through him, because her voice carried real fear. "Who hunted you?" he asked, her head lowered, and she whispered, "Night reapers. Creatures that come for the weak. Creatures that want my children." Aaron felt anger rise inside him. He hated the idea of anyone hurting innocent children. He said firmly, "They won't touch you here." Leora looked at him, and for a second, he saw her eyes soften with relief. Then, with a breaking voice, she whispered the words that would change his life forever. "Human. My children need a father. Please stay with us. Please don't let them take us." Aaron's breath stopped. He did not know what to say. He had never imagined something like this, an alien widow, alone in the night, begging him to save her family. But he could not ignore the fear in her voice or the trust in her eyes. He looked at the children, holding onto each other like they might disappear. And he knew, deep inside, that he could never turn them away. Outside, the wind grew stronger, and something moved in the darkness. Something watching, something waiting. The danger was already close. And Aaron realized one thing. This night was only the beginning. The real story was just starting. And he was now part of it, whether he liked it or not. Leora sat on the floor wrapped in a blanket, her breath unsteady. Her eyes scanning every shadow in the room, as if danger could slip through the walls at any moment. Aaron kept the lights low so the children could rest, but also because he felt that bright lights might attract whatever was out in the darkness. He watched Leora carefully, noticing how she held her children close. Her arms shaking, not just from cold, but from fear that had lived inside her for too long. Aaron spoke softly, "You're safe now, I promise." But Leora only nodded weakly, as if she wanted to believe him, but could not let her guard down yet. The children, Rena and Dow, huddled together on Aaron's couch, wrapped in thick blankets, their small bodies trembling at every tiny sound. Aaron made warm tea for Leora, and when she tried to take the cup, her hands shook so badly that he gently held her fingers to steady them. She whispered, "I'm sorry. It has been many days since we had anything warm." Her voice was fragile, like something that could break if pushed too hard. Aaron sat across from her and said softly, "Tell me what happened, Leora. Why were you walking alone with your children at midnight?" For a long moment, she said nothing. Only the crackle of Aaron's small heater filled the silence. Finally, Leora looked up, and there was something deep in her eyes, something heavy, something painful. "We were hunted," she whispered. Aaron's eyebrows tightened. "By who?" Leora swallowed, her throat dry. "Night Reapers. They came for us after my husband died." Aaron felt a cold shock run through him. He had heard stories about dangerous creatures on other planets, but Night Reapers were something else, silent, patient, and merciless. "Why would they come after you?" he asked. Leora hugged her children tighter. "My children carry a special blood, a rare gift, a dangerous gift, and the leader of my village wanted to take them away from me." Her voice cracked when she said those words, as if just remembering the moment tore her heart open again. "They killed my husband when he refused to give the children to them," she continued, her voice trembling. "He fought to protect us. He told me to run. He told me to never look back." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke. Rena looked up and wiped her mother's face with her tiny hand, whispering softly in their alien language. Aaron didn't know the words, but he knew the meaning: comfort, love, sorrow. Leora took a deep breath, trying to stay strong for her children. "We hid in the forest for days. We moved every night, but the Night Reapers always found our scent." Aaron leaned forward, his chest tightening. "But why come to me? Why a human?" Leora looked at him with eyes filled with a desperate kind of hope. "Humans are known for their courage, for their loyalty. Our people speak of humans with respect." She hesitated, then whispered, "And because you live away from others, your home is hidden. I hoped you would listen. I hoped you would help." Aaron nodded slowly, still processing everything. "You told me before that your children need a human father," he said gently. "Why did you say that?" Leora's face turned red with embarrassment, but her voice was steady. "In my world, when a mother loses her husband, she must find a guardian strong enough to protect her children. Someone who can fight, someone the enemies fear." She looked at Aaron with trembling eyes. "I saw your strength and your kindness, and I knew maybe you could be that person." Aaron felt his heart twist. He had never imagined something like this. He looked at the two children shivering, scared, clinging to each other, and he felt something deep inside him awaken. A protective instinct he didn't even know he had. The heater buzzed softly, filling the room with a warm glow, but outside, the world was anything but warm. Aaron asked softly, "Are the Night Reapers close?" Leora nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes. I saw their shadows following us. They never stop. They never rest. They want my children for their blood." Aaron stood up suddenly, a fire rising inside him. "No one is taking them," he said firmly. Leora looked at him with wide, startled eyes. "You and your children will stay here. I will protect you, no matter what comes." A tear rolled down her cheek this time. Not from fear, but from relief. Rena and Dao moved closer to Aaron, looking up at him with hopeful eyes. Their small voices whispered, "Human. Safe." And in that moment, something changed. Aaron was no longer just a stranger who opened his door at midnight. He was becoming the protector they needed, but the danger had already found their scent again. And as the wind howled outside, something moved in the distance. The night reapers were closer than any of them knew, and the real fight had only just begun. The night grew quieter inside the house, but the fear in the children's eyes did not fade. Rena and Dao sat close together on the couch, wrapped in Aaron's blankets. Yet they still trembled like leaves in the wind. Every small sound made them jump, the creak of wood, the howl of the wind, even the ticking of the clock. Aaron watched them with a heavy heart, realizing just how much fear they had lived with before reaching his door. He sat on the floor near them to make them feel safe. Not wanting to appear tall or frightening, slowly, he placed a cup of warm soup in front of them. Dao stared at the bowl with wide eyes. As if he didn't know if it was real, Rena hesitated, then whispered to her brother in their alien language before taking a tiny sip. Her body relaxed a little, and she nodded at Dao, showing him it was safe. Aaron smiled softly. "It's okay. Eat as much as you want," but the children only nodded silently. They still looked at the windows every few seconds, afraid something would break through the glass. Leora watched her children too, her heart breaking at how scared they were. She held them close and whispered, "You're safe. The human will protect us." Her voice was gentle, but even she did not fully believe her own words yet. Aaron asked quietly, "Have they always been this afraid?" Leora lowered her head. "Since the night their father died. They haven't slept properly. They wake up crying. They think the reapers will come any moment." Her eyes filled with tears, but she tried to hide them from her children. Aaron shook his head slowly, his jaw tightening. "Kids shouldn't live like this," he said gently. "No one should live with this kind of fear." A sudden thump outside the house made the children gasp and grab each other tightly. Aaron moved quickly to check the window, heart pounding. But it was only a tree branch hitting the wall in the wind. Still, the panic in the children's eyes revealed how deep their fear ran. Rena crawled slowly toward Aaron, holding her blanket close. She tugged at his sleeve and whispered, "Human, will they find us here?" Her small voice shook as if every word was heavy. Aaron knelt down to her level, looking into her scared eyes. "No," he said firmly. "Not while I'm here. I won't let anything hurt you." For the first time, Rena's eyes softened. She reached out and touched his hand. A tiny gesture of trust. Dao soon followed, slowly leaning toward Aaron as if testing whether he truly meant his promise. The children rested their heads against him. Seeking warmth and safety, Aaron gently placed his hand on their backs. Feeling how fragile they were, he realized that he didn't just want to protect them. He needed to. Leora watched the scene with tears in her eyes. For days she carried the weight of protecting her children alone. But now, for the first time, she saw someone else caring for them with the same fearlessness her husband once had. She whispered softly, "They trust you, Aaron. They haven't trusted anyone since." Since that night, her voice broke again. Aaron turned to her and said, "They deserve peace. And so do you." Another soft sound came from outside, this time a long scraping noise. The children's bodies stiffened immediately. Leora held her breath. Aaron stood and moved toward the door silently, every muscle tense. He peeked through the small window and scanned the darkness. Nothing moved, but something didn't feel right. He returned to the living room and whispered, "Stay close to me. The children crawled toward him instantly. Rena clutching his shirt, Dao hiding behind his arm. Aaron knelt and wrapped a blanket around all three of them. Creating a small warm space where they could feel safe, he spoke softly. "You're here now. You're inside. No creature can enter without going through me first," Rena whispered. "You're strong." Aaron smiled gently. "Strong enough," the heater hummed softly. Warming the room, the children's eyes grew heavy. Not because they were no longer afraid, but because their bodies were exhausted from too many nights of fear. Rena fell asleep first, her small hand still clutching Aaron's shirt. Dao curled against him moments later. Breathing soft and uneven but slowly calming, Leora watched quietly. Her heart full of emotion she couldn't express, she whispered, "Thank you, Aaron. My children haven't slept this peacefully since their father was alive." Aaron didn't move, keeping the children protected in his arms. He simply nodded and said, "They can rest. I'll keep watch." But deep in the darkness outside, something shifted, something that had followed them. Something that refused to stop. The Night Reapers had caught their scent again. And the safety inside Aaron's home was about to be tested more than ever. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. As Aaron sat on the floor with the sleeping children in his arms, Leora sat nearby, watching the door with tired but alert eyes. Hours passed and the wind outside began to change. It no longer sounded like normal wind. It carried a strange low hum. Something dark and heavy, something alive. Aaron felt his skin crawl. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. He stood up slowly, careful not to wake the children. Leora noticed the tension in his face and whispered, "What is it, human?" Aaron shook his head, listening hard. "I don't know. But stay close." A moment later, a soft tapping sound came from the window, not like a branch, not like rain. It sounded like claws, long and sharp, dragging slowly across the glass. Rena woke up immediately, gasping for breath. Her tiny hands gripping Aaron's shirt with fear. Dao sat up quickly, eyes wide and searching the room in panic. "Mother." "They're here," Rena whispered, her voice shaking. Leora rushed to their side, her eyes full of dread. She whispered to Aaron, "The Night Reapers. They have followed us." Aaron took a deep breath, steadying himself. He walked to the window carefully, his heart pounding like thunder in his chest. He pulled the curtain only a little, just enough to see, and there it was, a tall, shadowy creature standing motionless in the darkness, staring directly at the window with glowing, hungry eyes. Its limbs were long, its movements unnatural, its breath fogging the glass even from outside. Aaron felt a cold shock run through him. He whispered, "They found your scent again." Leora nodded, her voice barely a breath. "They never stop. Never." Suddenly, the creature slammed its body against the wall, shaking the entire house. The children screamed and buried their faces into Aaron's chest. Aaron grabbed them tightly, whispering, "Stay with me. I won't let them touch you." But the creature wasn't alone. From the darkness, more shadows appeared, moving like silent hunters, circling the house slowly. Leora counted their shapes and whispered, 3, no, 4. Aaron knew his house wasn't built to withstand creatures like these, but he also knew he would rather die than hand these children over. He whispered to Leora, "Take the kids to the back room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anything unless it's me." Leora's hands shook as she nodded. She guided the children away. Whispering prayers in her alien language, Aaron moved quickly, grabbing what little weapons he had, an old metal bat, a hunting knife, and a heavy lamp he could use as a strike tool. He positioned himself near the front door, breathing slowly, trying to stay calm every second. The air outside grew thicker, like the creatures were surrounding the house completely. Then came the first real hit, a sharp crash against the front window. splintering the wood frame and shaking the glass. The children screamed from the back room. Aaron shouted, "Stay inside! I'm here!" Another hit came from the side of the house, then another. It sounded like the creatures were testing the walls. Looking for a weak spot, Aaron's heart pounded harder. Sweat forming on his forehead, he took a step closer to the door. Gripping the metal bat tight, suddenly, the back window shattered. A thin, dark arm reached through. Claws scratching wildly at the air, Aaron spun around and charged. Hitting the creature's arm with full force, the creature screeched, a high-pitched, unnatural sound that shook the floorboards. It pulled back, disappearing into the night. Aaron blocked the window with a shelf, breathing hard, knowing it wouldn't hold for long. Leora rushed in, tears in her eyes. They want the children. They will not stop. Aaron grabbed her shoulders gently but firmly. "I won't let them in. I swear." Another shadow appeared at the door. Pushing hard, testing the lock, the wood creaked, ready to break. Aaron held the metal bat in both hands. His muscles tense, he whispered, "If they want to come in, they're going to regret it." The moment the door cracked slightly, Aaron swung with all his strength. The creature let out a furious scream, stumbling back into the night. But more shadows crawled closer, surrounding the house again. Leora whispered in fear, "They won't stop. Not until they get what they want." Aaron wiped sweat from his forehead, never looking away from the door. "Then they'll have to go through me," he said. And he meant every word. Inside that small house, a human stood ready to face monsters that even warriors feared, and for the first time, the Night Reapers realized this family was no longer unprotected. They had a guardian now, and he wasn't giving up. The attack finally grew quiet, but Aaron did not lower the bat from his hands. His breathing was heavy, and sweat dripped down his face. But his eyes stayed sharp, watching every corner of the house, outside. The Night Reapers moved back into the shadows, circling, waiting, studying him like a new type of enemy. Inside, Leora rushed to the children, holding them close as they cried softly into her arms. Aaron looked at them, and something inside him shifted, something deep, powerful, and unbreakable. He walked to the back room where Leora was soothing the children. Rena was trembling, her small fingers twisted in the fabric of her blanket. Dao buried his face into his mother's shoulder, trying to hide from a world too cruel for someone so young. When they saw Aaron, both children reached out their arms. They didn't say a word, they didn't need to. Their eyes were asking for the one thing they had lost in their life: safety. Aaron knelt on the floor and wrapped his arms around them. They clung to him immediately, pressing their small heads against his chest. For a moment, the fear in their bodies melted, replaced by something warmer: trust. Leora watched the scene with wide, emotional eyes. She had seen her children hide behind her for days, but now they were running to a human they knew only a few hours. She whispered softly, "They feel safe with you, Aaron. They haven't done that with anyone since." She couldn't finish the sentence. Aaron nodded gently, rubbing the children's backs. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere," he whispered. When the children finally fell asleep again, Leora and Aaron sat near the small heater. The house felt warmer now, not because of the heater, but because of the bond forming inside those walls. Leora placed her hands on her knees and looked down in shame. "I should not have brought danger to your home," she whispered. Aaron shook his head firmly. "You didn't bring danger. The danger was already hunting you. I'm just sorry you had to run alone for so long." Leora looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears. "My husband fought for us until his last breath. He told me to protect them no matter what. I have been trying. But I'm tired, Aaron. I'm so tired." Her voice cracked, revealing the weight of her pain. Aaron's expression softened. "Leora, you don't have to fight alone anymore," he said gently. She covered her mouth, trying not to cry loudly. Her shoulders shook as she whispered, "Thank you. No one has said that to me since he died." For the next hour, Aaron moved through the house, checking windows, blocking weak spots, reinforcing doors with furniture. Leora followed him quietly, helping where she could. At one point, Aaron slipped while pushing a heavy shelf. Leora jumped forward and grabbed his arm quickly. Holding him steady, their eyes met for a brief moment. A strange, soft warmth passed between them. Not romantic, not yet, but something that felt like the beginning of trust. When the house was finally secure, Aaron walked back to the children. They were sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. Their small bodies curled together, their breathing slow and soft. Aaron felt something stir inside him again, another protective instinct. Stronger than before. "They're brave," he whispered. Leora nodded. "They are. But they've lived in fear too long." Aaron sat beside them and placed a blanket more carefully over their shoulders. He whispered, "No more fear." "Not while I'm here." Leora watched him with gentle eyes. She whispered, "Humans. I never understood why your kind were spoken of with respect in our stories. Now I think I see why." Aaron didn't know what to say. He simply smiled, a small, tired smile. "I'm just trying to help," he murmured. Leora shook her head slowly. "No. You are doing more than that. My children already trust you more than anyone." She paused, breathing out slowly. "In our culture, when a protector accepts the family, he becomes more than a guardian. He becomes part of the home." Aaron looked at her, surprised. "Are you saying I'm becoming that?" he asked softly. Leora lowered her eyes. "I don't know yet. But tonight, you acted like one." Her words touched something deep inside him. Something he didn't know he was missing. Outside, the shadows continued to move. But inside the home, a new bond was forming, strong, growing and unbreakable. A bond the Night Reapers did not expect. A human becoming a protector. A family forming in the middle of fear. And in that moment, Aaron understood something clearly. He wasn't just helping them survive the night. He was becoming the shield between them and the world. He was becoming the person they needed. He was becoming their protector. The night slowly faded into early morning. But the fear in the house did not disappear. Aaron barely slept, his eyes watching every shadow in every window. Leora sat near the children, brushing their hair softly while they finally rested in peace. But even peace felt temporary, like a small flame in a storm. Aaron could feel something heavy in the air, something more than the creatures outside. It was Leora's silence, a heavy silence filled with secrets she had not shared yet. When the children were asleep, Aaron sat beside her. "Leora," he said quietly, "there's more you haven't told me." Her hands froze in midair. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she nodded slowly, her eyes full of pain she tried to hide. "You deserve the truth," she whispered. Aaron leaned forward gently. "Then tell me. I need to understand what we're facing." Leora took a deep, shaky breath. "My husband didn't just die protecting us from the Night Reapers," she began. Aaron felt his stomach tighten. He already suspected it. But hearing her say it made the fear more real. She continued, "He was hunted by our own people. By our own leader." Aaron blinked in shock. "Your leader? Why?" Leora looked away, her voice trembling. "My children are not normal. Not in our world." She placed her hand over Rena's head and whispered, "They carry rare blood. Luminar blood. A gift that appears once every 1,000 years." Aaron frowned. "What kind of gift?" Leora's eyes filled with sorrow. "They can heal. They can sense danger. They can connect with life around them. They are precious." She paused, her voice cracking. "And because they are precious, they are hunted." Aaron felt anger flood his chest. "Your leader wanted them?" Leora nodded slowly. "He wanted to take them away, train them, use them like tools. And my husband refused." Her hands shook as she spoke. He told the leader that our children would not be slaves, that they deserved a normal life. Leora wiped a tear from her cheek, so the leader sent night reapers after us. Not to kill us, but to drag the children away. Aaron clenched his fist so tightly his knuckles turned white. He whispered, "Your husband died because he tried to protect his own children." Leora nodded. Her voice barely a whisper. "He fought until he had no strength left. He gave me time to run. He forced me to take the children and leave him behind." Her whole body trembled when I looked back. He was on the ground, but he was smiling. Smiling because we were safe. She covered her face, crying softly, the memory still breaking her heart. Aaron moved closer and touched her shoulder gently. "I'm sorry, Leora. No one should go through that." She shook her head slowly. "I'm alive because of him. But now the night reapers follow our scent, and the leader will not stop until he gets the children." Aaron looked at the sleeping children. They looked peaceful, innocent, unaware of the danger that chased them across planets. They didn't know how many sacrifices had been made to keep them alive. Aaron whispered, "They won't take them." "Not while I'm here." Leora looked at him, her eyes shining with a mix of hope and fear. "Aaron, you don't understand the strength of night reapers, or the power of my leader." Aaron shook his head. "I don't care who they are, or what power they have. I won't let anything happen to these kids." Leora stared at him, stunned by his certainty. "You speak like a guardian," she whispered. Aaron looked at her calmly. "Maybe I am one now." The room grew silent for a moment, peaceful, despite the storm waiting outside. But then Leora whispered something unexpected. "Aaron, my husband told me something before he died. Something I never understood until now." Aaron turned toward her. "What did he say?" Leora wiped her tears and whispered, "He said, you will find a protector. Not from our world, but someone with a human heart. Someone who will stand when others run." Aaron felt his heart stop for a moment. Leora looked at him with trembling eyes. "Now I know. He was talking about you." The words hung in the air like a prophecy, a destiny none of them expected. Outside, the night reapers began to gather again, their low growls echoing in the early morning. Inside, Aaron stood taller, stronger, more certain than ever. He was no longer just helping them survive. He was stepping into a role the universe had already chosen for him. Protector, guardian, and maybe something even more. The final fight was coming, and Aaron was ready. Morning arrived slowly, but the sunlight did not bring safety. It only revealed how damaged the night had made the world outside Aaron's home. Branches were broken, claw marks scratched deep into the wood, and the earth was torn as if something had crawled across it. Aaron looked at the ground and knew one thing. The night reapers were preparing for something bigger. A final attack, the fight that would decide everything. Inside the house, Rena and Dow woke up quietly. They rubbed their eyes and walked to Aaron, holding his hands tightly like they were afraid he would disappear. Aaron knelt down and hugged them gently. "You're safe." "I'm here," he whispered, but his heart told him the truth. The danger wasn't over. Not even close. Leora came to him with worry in her eyes. "Aaron, they will return stronger." "They always do," she whispered. Aaron nodded. "Then we end this today." His voice was calm. Not because he wasn't afraid, but because he had made his decision. He would protect them no matter what happened. Leora placed her hand on his arm, her voice trembling. "You're one human. They are many." Aaron looked at her gently. "I don't need to be stronger than them. I just need to be stronger than their fear." Leora stared at him, amazed by the courage she didn't know a human could carry. He walked outside and studied the area. The forest around his house was silent, too silent. Even the birds refused to sing. Then he saw movement in the shadows. Long shapes crawling through the trees. 2 glowing eyes, then 4, then 8. They were coming, all of them. Aaron took a deep breath and whispered to himself, This ends now. He gathered tools, traps, and anything he could use. He spread sharp metal pieces near the windows, placed heavy furniture behind the doors, and held his strongest weapon, a long metal pipe reinforced with thick steel. Inside, Leora knelt with the children, whispering calming words in their language. Rena touched her mother's hand and whispered, "Human strong. Human protect." Leora nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. "Yes, he will," she whispered back. Then the first scream echoed through the trees. A chilling, sharp cry that froze the air. The night reapers stepped out of the shadows tall, thin, with claws long enough to tear wood like paper. Their movements were smooth, unnatural, like shadows that had learned to walk. They charged the house. Aaron stood at the front door. Gripping his metal pipe tightly, the first reaper jumped at the window. But its leg hit the hidden metal spikes Aaron placed earlier. It screamed and fell back. Aaron didn't wait. He swung hard, striking its head through the broken frame. The creature collapsed, dissolving into black mist. Another tore through the back wall. Aaron ran fast, sliding across the floor to block it. He hit it again and again until it stopped moving. But more claws scratched at the sides of the house. More shadows pushed through cracks and broken wood. The house shook as if the darkness itself was alive. Leora rushed to the children, shielding them with her body. Aaron shouted, "Stay down!" He fought another creature, then another. Every strike drained his strength. Every movement cost him more breath. But he wouldn't stop. He couldn't. Then the final reaper appeared, huge, taller than the doorway. Its eyes burned with hunger and rage. Aaron stumbled back, exhausted. The creature roared and charged forward. Before Aaron could swing, Rena and Dao ran toward him. "No!" Leora cried, but the children raised their hands, their palms glowing with the soft blue light lumined her blood. The creature froze, confused. The air shimmered around the children, forming a glowing shield. Aaron stared in shock as the creature stumbled backward, screaming as the light burned its shadowy skin. "Stay behind me!" Aaron shouted. The children nodded and stepped back. Aaron charged forward with everything he had left. He swung the metal pipe with full force, hitting the creature straight in its chest. It cracked, shook, and exploded into dark dust. Silence returned. The forest grew still. The night reapers were gone. Their hunt was over. Aaron fell to his knees. Gasping for breath, Leora ran to him, tears falling down her face. "You saved us. You saved my children," she whispered, her voice shaking. Rena and Dao wrapped their arms around him, whispering, "Father, Father." Aaron froze. Then slowly, gently, he hugged them back, and he whispered, "I'm here. I'm not leaving." Leora looked at him with soft, warm eyes. "Aaron, will you stay with us?" She asked quietly. Aaron looked at the children, then at her, and he nodded. "Yes, I'll stay. Forever if you need me." That morning, as the sun rose over the quiet forest, a broken family became whole again. A widow found hope. 2 children found a father. And a human found a purpose he never knew he needed. Their new life had begun, and nothing in the universe could take it away.